The first thud is easy to dismiss, like cargo shifting. The second is sharper, and silverware rattles across tabletops. It's after 1 in the morning on the Baltic, September 28th, 1994. Wind drives white water over the bow of the ferry Estonia. The ship punches into a wave, hangs for a heartbeat, then slides down the far side. Up front, behind the prow, heavy steel takes a beating it cannot survive. The bow visor, an armored shell that covers the loading ramp, begins to fail. Lugs bend, locks tear. The visor wrenches free, and the ramp behind it, never meant to hold back the open sea, yields. Cold black water roars onto the car deck as if a dam has burst. Estonia left Tallinn the prior evening for Stockholm with 989 people aboard. The crossing was routine on paper and rough in practice. Autumn storms stacked the sea into steep, confused waves. Inside, passengers nursed coffee, dozed in cabins, played cards, or walked the carpeted corridors to keep their legs loose. The ship's design was common for roll-on, roll-off ferries. A broad, uninterrupted car deck beneath the passenger spaces, sealed by doors at the bow and stern. That deck must stay dry. When it floods, physics turns on you fast. The first minutes feel like a hiccup in the ship's balance. 10 degrees of list to starboard, then 15. Coffee cups slide an inch and stop. The ship keeps speed to maintain steerage into the head seas. More water piles onto the car deck. Free surface effect, the most unforgiving phrase in marine stability, does the rest. Water spreads wide, racing to the low side as the hull rolls, killing righting moment the way a cut bleeds strength from a body. The list deepens past 20 degrees. Now people brace themselves in hallways that feel tilted on purpose. Forward crew hear the heavy, off-rhythm bangs and try to reach the bow spaces. Doors jam, ladders pitch wrong, compartments are already taking green water. On the bridge, officers call for course changes and power reductions, hoping to ease the pounding. Nothing steadies. Dishes smash. Cabin doors wedge against their frames. Shouts overlap. The first real sign that the list has crossed the line between odd and dangerous. Somewhere below, the low mouth of the ramp takes another gulp, and the car deck becomes a lake that moves. Mayday, Mayday, Estonia. The distress carries just after 1:20 a.m. The words are clipped and tense, chased by wind noise, but every watch officer on nearby ships hears the urgency. The Finnish ferry Mariella turns toward the position and broadcasts the alarm. The larger Silja Europa will end up coordinating radio traffic because her bridge has the best reach. On Estonia, there is no time to make neat announcements. The list drives past 30 degrees. Stairways flip into chutes. Emergency power takes over and throws a weak green glow down the passageways. Outside, crew try to ready lifeboats and find the davits useless on a deck that has tipped into the sky. A few rafts tumble free and skitter downwind. Passengers fight their way to doors that now open upward and stick at the wrong angle. Life jackets come out of lockers and go on in a hurry. Some are fitted wrong, so the inflated foam will later force faces into the water. On the starboard side, the sea slams the hull like a fist. At roughly 1:30 a.m., the ship steps past the last boundary. The list becomes a roll. People are thrown off their feet. Those who were waiting for orders understand there won't be any they can hear. A handful jump or are pitched into the night. Others are trapped behind jammed doors and rising water. Estonia settles on her side, stern lifting, bow driven down by the thousands of gallons sloshing across the car deck. The ship goes under bow first in minutes. The shock of silence after the last calls is its own kind of sound. Rescue starts immediately and still loses to the clock. Air temperatures hover around freezing. The water is worse. Hypothermia steals muscle, breath, and heartbeat with ruthless speed. Helicopters scramble from Finland and Sweden, but face a long flight and a dangerous hover in gusts. The first ships on scene swing searchlights across a field of rafts and people. Launching small boats is nearly impossible in those seas. Crews back down carefully to throw lines while trying not to crush anyone against their hulls. When the helicopters arrive, winchmen drop through spray and exhaust to lift who they can, counting minutes of fuel against minutes left in human bodies. By daylight, the numbers take shape and refuse to move. Only 137 survivors are found. The toll settles at 852 dead or missing, the worst peacetime loss in modern Baltic history. People rescued from the water or rafts are hauled aboard coated in fuel sheen, barely able to speak, eyes burned by cold and wind. Many never made it to open decks. Many reached doors and could not force them. The timeline is too short for orderly evacuation. The ship dies faster than the human systems built to save it. The joint investigation by Estonia, Finland, and Sweden digs into design, maintenance, sea state, and crew actions. Divers cannot fully penetrate the wreck. Depth and currents make it too hazardous. But wreckage and survivor testimony tell a clear story. Repeated slamming loads in the head seas overstressed the bow visor's locks and hinges. When the visor tore away, it pulled open the inner ramp. Water rushed over the low sill and onto the car deck. With that wide, shallow space flooded, stability collapsed. The Commission's report lands in 1997 with conclusions few dispute. The bow arrangement failed. The ship's quick capsize followed from that failure, and once the car deck flooded, there was no realistic recovery. From those findings come hard changes. Operators reinforce visors, hinges, and latches. Redundant locking bolts and stronger lugs become standard. Cameras and sensors point at the doors so bridge teams can see the state of seals and locks, not guess. Rules tighten on speed and heading in heavy weather. Mustering and evacuation procedures are rewritten to account for fast-developing lists that make formal lifeboat launches impossible. Drills put more emphasis on quick movement to weather decks and on teaching passengers how to wear jackets correctly, the small details that matter when every minute is contested. Grief and politics run on their own tracks. Families ask for bodies. Governments sign an agreement to treat the wreck as a protected grave, forbidding dives. Memorials rise in Tallinn and Stockholm, a broken ark, a wall of names, a space to read ages and feel the breath catch when the years drop into single digits. Anniversaries bring the case back into headlines. Some independent teams document damage on the wreck and argue over whether it changes the sequence. The essential physics holds. A vulnerable opening let the sea into the worst possible space, and the ship went from stable to lost in less than an hour. Seen up close, the night reduces to people and seconds. A student in a lower cabin wakes to a crooked room and never reaches the stairwell. A steward slams her shoulder into a door that suddenly opens uphill and won't budge. A trucker hears a metal scream, grabs a rail, and rides a sliding crowd toward a landing already underwater. A helicopter medic clips to the hook and drops through rotor wash, pulling one survivor after another until the fuel light demands a climb and a turn for shore. No villain, no dramatic fire, just a failed door, a flooded deck, a storm, and time running out. Stand at either port on a calm day and the route looks ordinary. Buses, foot traffic, a line of cars waiting for the next ferry. The fixes born from the disaster hide in plain sight. Heavier hardware, extra indicators, cameras, procedures that say slow down when the sea stacks high. Those changes are not abstract. They are a promise written in steel that buys crews and passengers the one thing Estonia could not buy: more minutes. The story's lesson is plain enough to fit on a clipboard. Keep the water out of the car deck. Watch the parts that take the first hit. Believe the sensors. Reduce speed in head seas that hammer the bow. Teach people how to move quickly when the floor turns into a ramp. And back all that up with maintenance that treats every bolt on the visor like a life-critical component. because that is what it is. The final image is simple and hard to shake. A dark hull on its side, stern high, bow down, rafts drifting in a sleet of spray, voices thin on the wind, and then a quiet sea that looks ordinary again by afternoon. The work that followed, rules, retrofits, training, exists, so a routine night crossing stays routine. It is how you honor the names cut into stone on both shores. Thank you for listening to Road to Ruins. Subscribe for more true stories where systems fail and people pay the price.